The art style are a little bit, you can essentially compare it to animation essentially. You have cutscenes that are fully animated, which are the main cutscenes. It's fully animated, really great looking and just beautiful to look at. You also have the in-engine cutscenes, which essentially you characters speaking freely without you pressing the X button. And yeah, it continues like that. As I said, the big art style feels like it is a big anime essentially, and essentially big Japanese animation, and I really like the art style because of that. It just feels refreshing for what you have seen in most Western games essentially. And yeah, it isn't that much more I can talk about it essentially, but the way the world looks, the way the metaverse looks, the art style in both categories are just amazing in my opinion. It just feels interesting wherever you go. It feels in the real world, it is actually feeling real, even though it is animated. Looks animated, it also feels real at the same time, which is hard to come by these days when it comes to games. And in the metaverse, it feels like the deepest desires of the main boss or main bad guy that you are going through actually feels coming through to you in the art style essentially of the palace. And I really like that about this game, that the art style actually speaks for itself for the most part in both the real world and the metaverse. The music or the score in this game are just amazing. One of my favorite tracks are actually one of the simplest one, and it is when you are essentially running around in LeBlanc or doing some looking through your items or your inventory, etc, etc. It is just a nice score essentially. I can't remember what it's called, but it's really good. It is one of the main scores. It is where have Behind the Mask or something like that. Probably something like that. It is a really good song. It is probably my favorite because it is calm, it is soothing, it has some type of yes into it. It is just amazing, just incredible in my opinion. And all of the other scores and music in this game are just phenomenal. It is a treat to just sit there and listen to it. It is amazing how well done it is in my opinion. Yeah. As I said before, you have your main character that you essentially name yourself, and have the codename of Joker. You also have a lot of confidence. I have counted to 20 in total, and if I checked correctly, it is about 20 confidence. Each of these characters have their own personality, and each of them feels refreshing talking to each one of them and spending time with all of these characters, because every one of these characters stands out. Nobody feels the same. It just feels you want to be with every character. Sadly, during my playthrough I only maxed out the what is called the bar essentially for how how good of a relationship you have with this character essentially. Relationships bar essentially. I only maxed out 3 or 4 of the ones that you had to do work for, and yeah, we also have the ones that max out by themselves through the storyline. But overall, all of these characters are colorful. They have great personalities that you really want to see through when it comes to their own side stories. And managing time with these characters are a little bit hard in my opinion, as a first playthrough at least, because you don't really know what each of these characters want to hear, and that is one of the main things that I really like as well, because it isn't simply just this one that because it sounds good. You need to essentially make the friend or confidant that you are talking to go down to these characters level essentially and shows that direction when it comes to when it shows answer, because it is, as I said, it isn't as simple as choosing your own answer. You will need to, in order to manage the time in correct way, you need to answer in a way that the character that you talk to essentially likes you better, likes the choice that they like better essentially, or that feels more like them. And as I said before, it is not usual that you had this much personality in characters and etc. So I really like about this game as well. They have really accomplished a lot of things when it comes to actually giving each character their own storyline and each personality. I really like that about this game. Really refreshing, really amazing how well they have done it. The enemies in this game are interesting because each of them have their own distinct characteristics. They are different in each palace, they are different in mementos as well. It is just interesting. Each of them essentially have their own elemental weaknesses and strengths essentially, and you can sometimes see that in how they look and sometimes you don't, and that is really interesting in my opinion. It is essentially, each of these enemies are essentially called shadows or demons, and you will see many different ones in this game. Of course it is a long game, and each palettes have their guards essentially, or shadows that looks different, and you don't really see which shadows or enemies you will essentially meet or go up against before you essentially put off their mask or they ambush you. Or if you ambush them or they ambush you essentially. After that, you need to decide what you should do against these characters or these enemies. Of course, if you know all of the enemies in the palace, you can essentially choose which personas you are going to use and against them. But as I said, I really like how different all of the enemies are. They are great looking, they are interesting to look at, and it's just interesting characters. I just want to know more about how these shell, metaverse, enemies and etc. essentially started off or got created or whatever they want to call it. I want to know more essentially. Yeah. Persona 5 are essentially one of the best games I have played in years essentially. It is phenomenal, it is a great storyline, great characters, great enemies, great art style, great music and score. Everything are excellent in this game. I really love everything about it. Even though I can think some of the places can be tedious because of the button clicking through text and reading, I really think everything comes together nicely and they are done really well when it comes to essentially creating a world that you are engaged in and really want to know more about. The final rating for Persona 5 are going to be a full 10 out of 10. That's all for today, folks. I'm glad to be back for some more reviews. Bye.